Banks play the king when we always lose. Hidden fees, high interest dues, usury and daylight force products to choose. They make the money while we pay the blues.
Like, how can you have energy companies profit when there's an energy crisis, military industrial complex that profits when it's a war, pharmaceutical companies that profit when there's a pandemic? You're creating the necessity for ongoing crisis.
Yes.
If the elites in a society benefit from situations that are detrimental to everybody else, that's what reality is going to become. That's what
Exactly.
reality has become.
By the way, Russell Brand is likely being silenced by mainstream media for his strong yet truthful statements. Today, we will take a closer look at the world of money and the people in the banking industry. We will also examine our favorite topic, taxes. Finally, we'll explore an interesting alternative to traditional banks that could be implemented. Welcome to another episode of Rabbit Hole.
Who's winning in this economy right now?
The rich. Guys like me. You know, we have gone from having 93 billion, 400 in 1982 to having 2.4 trillion, 25 for one. It becomes a more and more specialized market economy. It was an agrarian economy a couple of hundred years ago. Very hard, you know, to get 20 times the wealth of the next guy because you were a little bit better farmer. But if you're better at some skills now, you can become incredibly wealthy at a very young age, not because you earned the money to build one steel mill and then saved it to buy another steel mill. So you get the capitalized value of an idea. And so the wealth moves big time, even on an anticipatory basis.
Anticipatory basis refers to making decisions and taking actions based on predictions about future events. It helps in preparing for risks and opportunities. If someone interferes with these predictions, it can lead to market manipulation, destabilization, conflicts of interest, and legal issues. As you'll soon see, for some people, this is not a problem because what you're about to witness is no coincidence, ain't it? Some people aren't bothered because what's coming up isn't just a random happenstance unless they know something others don't.
Some would call history in the
We've
mixed.
never-
Don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. I'm down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down. Microsoft is down $20. That's 5%. Alphabet, 5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down. Let's pull out Apple. This is interesting.
Welcome to the modern commune. Freedom's just an empty tune. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and everyone wants just a little more.
It doesn't matter that interference with predictions can lead to financial losses, higher costs, loss of trust in financial institutions, economic problems, increased investment risks, greater social inequality, and legal issues for ordinary people. What's important is that the rich keep getting richer.
How did we go from fighting a revolution over a 2% tax on a breakfast beverage to what we pay today? And we're taxed on money when we receive it, when we spend it, when we keep it, when we invest it, and even when we die with it. They get worse. We commute to work to make that money in a car that is taxed again to register on roads we're already taxed to build, fueled by gas that is taxed even further, and many times through tolls that tax you again. And that's to maintain bridges and highways and tunnels that already have billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, allocated to them, and they're still falling apart. And then when you get to your office that is taxed to exist, in a corporation that is also taxed to do business, that almost certainly requires permits and other things, which are another tax, you are paid a paycheck that the corporation must match another payroll tax on top of what they have to pay you. Then you go to a home of which you are taxed to own every single year that we bought with money that the government already taxed us on. Oh, by the way, the more money you make and the more you pay in taxes warrants the government taking more and even higher percentages of your money.
Oh, taxes, where do you go? To places we don't even know. We work so hard, we give our due, but somehow it never comes back to to you.
California is experiencing the weirdest problem. They now have so many people driving EVs that guess what's happening? They don't know where to get the gas tax money anymore. Now they're going to start taxing EV drivers.
What?
We can't let the river dry up. No way.
With more than 30 million registered passenger vehicles in California, the state says it shells out more than $8 billion a year to maintain the roads those cars drive on. But because so many Californians now own electric vehicles, the gas tax money is starting to dry up, which is why Caltrans wants to instead charge drivers per mile and is now enrolling people in a 6-month pilot program to test out the concept.
Pilot program 6 months.
Yeah.
Right. Pilot program for 6 months. That's funny. Remember that story? Stay home for 2 weeks? Yo, check this out. Has any of you ever looked at taxes this way?
Let me explain to you how the system works. So the first thing is they want us to be in jobs, J-O-Bs, because there they can transduce our most valuable resource, which is our time on the planet. Our effort, but our time on the planet. They can take that non-renewable resource, by the way, and transduce it into a debt instrument, Federal Reserve notes. They're not actually worth nothing. They're actually debt instruments. They're IOUs. And the rate of exchange for our time is so low, such that they can make a great deal of profit off of leveraging our time so that the companies make money and we make very little for what our time is really worth. Then do they pay you your full measure? No, they take half of it out as withholding on taxes that are unconstitutionally levied against us to take away even more of that labor transduced into worthless units, only to return it over a year later after inflation has made it even less valuable. Then we spend what's left and have to pay an additional sales tax, 7 to 8, 9, 10%. And one of my favorites is that even before we get those dollars, they take our money and put it aside for retire in an IRA or a 401k. And we think that someday in the future, the IRS will honor its word and that we'll get that money back without tax.
Taxes are the foundation of our collective prosperity, and without them, society could not develop. However, the current system, where the wealthiest often evade their obligations, undermines the sense of fairness. Instead of channeling resources into conflicts such as wars or other destructive actions, we should invest in health, education, infrastructure, and support for those in need. A promising solution would be for governments to run profitable enterprises modeled after private companies, using the revenue to invest directly in society. This approach could reduce the high tax burdens on citizens and create a more just and balanced system.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
I was just kidding. Watch an interesting cartoon instead.
Taxes, you see, a kind of punishment.
Punishment for what?
For being resourceful, enterprising, and capable.
I don't understand.
It's simple. The more enterprising, capable, and resourceful you are, the bigger the punishment you pay.
But that's unfair.
Of course, it's unfair, but it's socially fair.
What does that mean?
It means that everyone who's got their head on their shoulders has to make it look like they earn less.
But then they'll have less money.
No! Then they'll have more money because they'll pay less tax.
Ah, it's like spinach.
Spinach.
Yeah, the more you shove under the carpet, the less you have to eat later.
I have to say, I have always been, and still am, a fan of cartoons that actually teach something valuable.
In ancient times, people used metal coins for money instead of paper, and coins made sense because a coin contained precious metal that people found valuable, like gold or silver. Think of it as $1's worth of gold being melted into $1 coin.
Yeah, sounds good to me. What's the problem?
The problem is that the Roman government decided to make more coins without actually finding more gold. They were turning the same amount of gold into even more coins.
They make money out of money.
Exactly the right question.
We need more coins than we have gold for. Shave off pieces of these coins and melt them down with other metals.
But if there's less gold in the coins, won't that make them worth less?
We don't pay you to ask questions.
This seems like cheating.
That's because it is, and governments do it all the time.
understand now. When you cheat to create new money, it makes everyone else's money worth less. Look how much lighter it is.
Exactly. When the money becomes worth less, you need to use more money to buy the same things. That's called inflation.
A mechanism works every time, and the only ones who profit are always the same group of people, the rich.
One of the biggest scams in real estate is a will. Every parent's dream is to one day give their home to their kids, but every parent's doing it wrong, and it's costing them tens of thousands of dollars. Because as far back as the Roman times, estates have basically always been passed down through wills. But in order to go through a will today, you have to go through probate, where the courts distribute all the things listed on your will after you die and who it'll go to. But in order for probate to even do that, it costs about 8% of the gross value of your estate. So let's say you have a $750,000 house. That's $60,000 your kids will lose, and that doesn't even include what the creditors are going to take or what the government's going to take. So if you want to leave your home to your kids after you die and you don't want them to be left with nothing, you're going to instead do what the rich do and first call up an estate planning attorney and ask them to put your home in a trust and add them as the beneficiaries of that trust. Then second, if there's a mortgage on the home, you're going to get something called term insurance and make sure that it covers the balance of the home. This way when you die, the trust will go on, which means the home won't go into probate. And because of the term insurance, your kids won't be stuck with a mortgage payment or left with a huge balance they have to pay off.
Exactly. Simple inheritance law. Who needs it? And for what purpose? And just to be clear, this is all sarcasm, guys, okay?
Like, shoot, I guess the money in my bank isn't my money. And as a matter of fact, we don't actually own anything. So for example, you might own Tesla stock or Apple stock or something like that. You don't actually own that. It's owed to you. E-Trade or Charles Schwab owes that stock to you. You don't own it. It's a big difference legally. Money in the bank is not your money. It's owed to you. And legally, that's a big deal, right? Legally, if you owe it to me, but you go bankrupt, I don't get it. I have no ownership. That's why when you go to the bank and you try to send money to a crypto exchange, they say, nope, we're not going to send money because it's not your money. Yeah. They decide what to do with it, right? Okay. So now then the world really got put on notice when Russia had their bank account seized. There's 3 superpowers in the world that have nuclear weapons: Russia, China, and the U.S. When the Russia-Ukraine border dispute broke open, $650 billion of Russia's assets got seized. So the whole world was just notified instantly, if they didn't already know. If you're one of 3 superpowers with nuclear weapons, that money is still not your money. And so the world goes, well, shoot, if it can happen to Russia, it can happen to anybody. So now all of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, but now all the other nations that are joining, Argentina, potentially Egypt, Iran, etc., they're all like, well, shoot, we don't want to buy U.S. treasuries. We're going to buy gold instead. So they're all trying to figure out what they can buy that can't be manipulated like U.S. dollars. So this is what the world's going through right now.
Let me show you how the rich don't pay any taxes, so you can do the same. So this is you, and this is your company, and those are the skills that generate money for your company. What many people don't know is that you can separate yourself from your money-generating skills and transfer them to a different location. In this case, we transfer those skills into a trust in Cyprus. Now, whenever your company generates money with those skills, all the profits have to go back to the trust, making your company broke on paper. Because your company doesn't make any money, it doesn't have to pay any taxes. The crazy thing is, because your trust is set up in Cyprus, you don't have to pay any taxes on that income stream either. Now, with that income stream, your trust can buy, hold, and sell assets tax-free, and you can benefit from them like they're yours.
See what he's saying? See what we're saying?
Julian, what the hell are these guys saying? I don't know. What are you guys saying?
All we're saying is, you know what I'm saying. See what I'm saying?
The bank does not have to prove where it gets its money from. So if you apply the principle of reciprocity to that, the bank would be obliged under a reciprocity principle to say to you, oh, the money we're going to lend you for your mortgage, we're going to type into an account from nothing based upon the strength of your signature, which becomes a promissory note, that we then accept for value and deposit and create the credit. So in fact, customer, you provide the bank, you, as in a human, provides the bank the authority to create the credit that you then borrow. So if you really think about that process, who is the creditor and who is really the debtor? If you provide the authority for the bank to create the credit, the authority is really the creditor. The one that operates the process is really the debtor. And that's what I wanted to try and set out to prove in law. because that's the actual fact of the matter, and that's the truth.
Each of us should ask ourselves this question.
Do you want to play a game?
And now, an interesting fact.
The entire country of Cuba woke up, 4 days ago, to all of their bank accounts empty. Everyone in the entire country woke up with no money.
So how does that happen? What the
The whole system is based on a financial fraud, which effectively takes the power that we have and it gives it to a tiny group of individuals who are running the world through the control of finance. With the infinite supply of money that we have allowed them to take, they have literally an infinite supply of money, and with that money, and from their psychopathic point of view, they have bought everything and everyone who can be bought. So those of us who cannot be bought because we operate on a level that goes way beyond the material, we are not rewarded for such behavior, we are punished for such behavior. And the most slovenly, disgustingly criminal, pedophilia, corrupt moral individuals, those are the ones that are rewarded in this system, which is upside down. We reward the pedophiles, we reward the corrupt, we reward the liars, we reward the people with no morals at all, and usually we compromise them under this system in terms of maybe a videotape.
Remember, guys, Epstein's clients are still running this shit show. And now the long-awaited alternative. Some might think it's absurd, that it won't work. But I'm convinced that in our society, there are enough honest and competent people to make it happen.
I think we should all create our own bank. I think we need to create our own bank. First, you set up a community trust structure, and then you appoint everybody as a managing director of a trust. You set up a trust account for everybody. Everybody pools all this together. You buy gold and silver with it. You invest it, and you pay dividends back to everybody in the community. That's how we could run an economic system and completely bypass the federal government and the international bankers. Every community could do that. Every church could do that. Every organization could do that. Every family could do that. And watch the wealth start shifting back into your hands again instead of into the hands of those who really don't care about your wealth. The New World Order has no concern for your money, really. They just want power and control. That's all they want. Because they're scared and insecure.
Let's do it.
So when do we start? Let me know what you think of the episode and whether the idea of a community bank could actually come to life. That's all for today. See you soon.
Welcome to the modern commune, where freedom's just an empty tune. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and everyone wants just a little more. Jobs replaced by AI's grace, a faceless crowd in a crowded space. Promises of a brighter day, but who pays the price for progress, hey?